Hello YouTubers and welcome to another episode. Today, unfortunately slash fortunately, we're going out on the bike. Unfortunately because I'm going out today at this time because my boat is broken. Unfortunately, we broke the fin off yesterday, but hopefully we'll get it fixed today or tomorrow so we can get back on the water. And unfortunately, because I do get to do a bit of cross training, or at least start to do a bit of cross training, it's forced my hand to get on my bicycle here. So for those that are curious, it's a Canyon Road Light Aluminium. It was, when did I get it? Maybe got it around 2013-ish, and I think it was a year previous edition. So we've got some Ultegra and 105 mixed group sets, aluminium frame, carbon forks, and pretty much it really. But the size of the frame, I can't remember exactly, I need to go get my measuring tape, but it is between a 65 and a 60 centimeter frame. I can't quite remember, and since it's a bit older, the sizes have kind of changed. So it was a 3XL on Canyon's sizing scheme, but I think they've just changed it quite recently. So it's between 65 and 60 centimeter frame, and since I am 6'9", it really helps when I have a big frame. Makes it a lot more comfortable for me rather than getting a smaller frame and then just boosting the seat, getting an extra high seat post. But this is going to be an interesting one. I've got my GoPro attached right here. Where is it? Right there. So I'll be sort of filming, not the whole ride, but just the parts of the ride so we can take the Yam Squad along with me. And then I'm going to be discussing a little bit about sort of biking for rowing, and even just biking in general, what I think of biking, cycling, and why you could do it as cross training for rowing. And as you can see, very serious here, I have my very aerodynamic water bottle to get me fueled along. So I'm fueling wise, got a bit of sugar and squash in there. I've got a couple of bananas in my back pocket, got some of my tools and stuff just in case anything happens. But apart from that, all ready to go. Get my shoes as well. My shoes, I can't remember, I also got them when I got the bike ages ago, but they've done me well. Just replaced the cleats as well, so they're all fresh, ready to go. So fingers crossed, Yam Squad, we have a good ride. But now we're going to head on to the bike over here, and then hopefully make it down the hill nice and safe, and then go exploring. What we'd like to do is tag along with some people that may know a route or may have been around Bath before, but you can't really tell who is a quick rider, who's not a quick rider. So I'll maybe go down, there's so many cyclists on the road just now, so maybe go down into the main street part, have just a warm up in the flat bits, and then see if I can pick out any fast riders or riders that I could maybe hopefully hold on to the wheel and then tag along with them. If not, just cycle for a time. Oh, speaking of time, I need to go get my heart rate monitor. So, heart rate monitor, back on the bike. So we've made it to the canal. Not 100% sure where we're going yet, but I forgot to enable Strava and it doesn't see my face. Okay, Strava's started. Let's see what we can do. That was very steep, and with not knowing the routes, going down hills like that, you could be going down 50 miles an hour and then thinking, oh, I'll have loads of space to stop. But like in this one, there's a red light at the bottom. So pretty glad I didn't go full yam down that hill. Okay,
So, almost finished the ride. And since I started riding downhill, I need to finish the ride with an uphill. It's not too bad, but it gets real steep in the end. I'll see you in the house.
And we've made it up the hill and back to the house. Got the bike all sorted, ready to be put away to sleep until the next cycle. So, talking about cycling and rowing, is there a crossover, cross-training, is it a good idea, etc. So, I really enjoyed that cycle. It meant that like, if you're on the row machine and you don't have access to the water in a single at the moment, it means that you can actually get outside and do a workout. Like, yeah, you can bring Bay outside, take her on a walk, or put it in the garden and do an erg outside, but it's just not the same as actually moving like you would be on the water or on a bike or some other mode of transport. And so that in itself makes a big difference. Just the variation in itself of, yeah, you're riding a bike versus being on the water or being on an erg, but also the variation of you can go right, you go that way 10 miles, you go that way 10 miles, and it's both very different cycles. So it's very difficult to sort of do the same in a cycle unless you do the exact same route every single time, and even then you can start to sort of compete against yourself. If you've got times, you can go onto Strava and see PRs and whatnot and different segments and try and beat them, even if that's on the same ride the entire time you're doing. So the variation, obviously, as I always say, is one of the keys to motivation, and it really helps. And with cycling, the variation is on a whole nother level. With the cross-training itself, is cycling a good cross-training method for rowing? Absolutely, definitely, 100% is a very good method. So I want to tell you a story. So when I had my tonsils out, that was a couple of years, 3 years ago now. So it's getting longer away. But when I had my tonsils out, it was a mixture of tonsillitis, glandular fever, burnout, and it wasn't really defined which one it was. But regardless, I needed time off, and then from that time off, I've ended up being 3 months of zero exercise, and then I started on the watt bike, and I pretty much did exclusively watt bike and cycling workouts for I think it was 2 months, and it started off at 10 minutes on the watt bike at like 100 watts, really light, and building up. And then eventually I was able to really put some yam down on the watt bike as I built up my fitness, and I was sure that I wasn't, all the fatigue from the burnout wasn't there anymore. It was okay, I can actually build, I can actually recover. And so then I got into the workouts, interval workouts, max watts workouts, hard workouts, which is a whole different type of workout than on the erg, but it really does sort of make you, I think, push yourself in a whole nother direction, which is really good when you get back on the erg, because what I felt like, I remember doing watt bike workouts, and then the first erg was a half hour that I did. So I knew I was fit enough, but I hadn't really been on the erg. And then when I did the half hour at rate 20 on the erg, I remember being sort of 10 minutes in, or maybe 15 minutes in, and thinking, my legs are burning. This is kind of similar to what I was feeling in February, when I was doing the 1K. My legs are burning, but when I was on the watt bike, the legs basically don't stop burning because it's just constant on, basically. So my legs are burning, yes, on the erg, but they were burning more on the watt bike, so I can keep pushing. And so I really think that there's big space for that type of workout, that you do a workout that is essentially puts you in more of a hole than, say, a 2K race. And that's one of the big reasons why I think cycling for cross-training for rowing is really good. And another one is just the whole point of sort of the more time you spend training, if you're recovered and you do it in the right zones, etc., you should be getting fitter, at least developing your fitness. And it's much easier, I think, to spend more time on the bike, say 90 minutes, 2 hours plus, than it is on the rowing machine. And if you could go out, if you are lucky enough to have, say, a flat 2-hour stretch, or at least like an hour and back, then you can really make it really consistent and say work on different zones. You could work on the UT2, UT1, flat out, all those zones on the bike. Or you look at it like, well, I just, for example, today did about an hour and 7 minutes at average 134 heart rate, but did peak at 171. So it's more of like an interval workout, but an interval workout for an hour on the erg is a much more sort of mental grind than on the bike, if that makes sense. Tying into the whole sort of climbing up hills and saying, oh, I only just have to get to there, and it's just, I think, a little bit easier to motivate yourself when you're really pushing hard on the bike because of all that variation, if that makes sense. But that will be it for today's episode, Jam Squad. If you do have a bike, obviously make sure you have your helmet, make sure you're safe out there. I do recommend getting a pair of cycling shorts. The shorts don't have to be that expensive. You can go to like Decathlon and get a pair for £10 or £15, but that can make a very big difference to cycling and actually being able to stay on the bike. Cycling top, same thing, doesn't have to be expensive. You get little pockets in the back so you can store things like bananas, like this one. Ooh, it's a ripe banana. Or I've got my phone and my little tools as well in the back pocket, rather than if you wore a t-shirt and shorts, you're going to get a sore bum and you're going to like maybe lose things in your pockets. But that's a couple of tips there, and obviously definitely 100%, like I said, helmet safety comes first. And again, like I said at the start, I'm on the brakes a lot going down hills. One, because I'm not sure about the routes and the hills I'm going down, and two, it's much easier to have a bad crash if you're going, say, 50 mile an hour, whereas you could be going down that same hill at 20 and crash, and it might not be as bad. And then obviously if you're going slower, it's easier to avoid something that might come up, if that makes sense. But that will be it for today's episode, Jam Squad. Hopefully I can get the fin sorted for the boat and then get back on the water, but I want to combine sort of cycling and rowing on the water as well, because I feel like it's much easier for me to get a massive training benefit on the bike, whereas on the single, yeah, I can get a training benefit in, but I feel like my time would be better spent getting the technique right. So almost ignoring the fitness on the water and really focusing on getting the boat right, and then doing the fitness on the bike or the erg, if that makes sense. Obviously not ignoring it completely, like I will be working in low end zones by doing technique, but hopefully you know what I mean. But as always, Jam Squad, remember to subscribe if you haven't already, hit that like button. I'm going to eat my banana, and I will see you in the next episode. Oh yeah.